everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match Beyond All Reason, where today we're taking a look at a pro-level match that was recently played on Coastline's Dry. This is a fun match, but it's going to be even more so with how high skill a lot of these players are. So meeting our red team leader here, spawning with a little crown on his head, and going into triple mechs. Alright, gonna shy on energy. A commander that goes by the name of Chisato, doing a little bit of split building here on the mechs and the solar and all that good stuff, and playing as an Armada commander, so going to have access to those cheaper wind turbines as well. Going to be showing us exactly what they've got on the southern side of this very, very wide open map. All the way in the northern corner, and representing the blue team, also as an Armada commander that goes by the name of JTL. Now really quickly, I want to look at something real quick. I don't usually show this too often on the whole thing, but you can see the metal produced is 240 here for the blue commander versus about 300 for the red commander. So it's about a 50 or so metal lead because Chisato got that metal extractor up and running a little bit quicker. I know we don't usually take a look at the statistics panel, but it is worth making that point that sometimes just the littlest difference in the metal extractor being up for slightly longer can end up meaning that you actually scale that into a tremendous economic difference. If 50 metal is the difference between this game going one direction or another, I definitely wouldn't say that it was decisive either way, but certainly in the later game when it becomes 100,000 metal differences, yeah, you can start to see that it adds up quite quickly. Pardon me, just reorganizing my desk here so I can move around the map a little more fluidly. We've already got some ticks out on the field right here for Jazz Cash, one of the high-level players that's going to be playing for the red team, spawning as yellow, and you can see wearing that moderator star as well. Going to be showing us exactly what they can do with some tick micro. We have a rover out here to defend. At the very least, it, finds those tick scouts. Nice micro right here, controlling, making sure that we're shutting these down as much as possible. One of them will hide over here in the corner. The other one is going to run right past. First engagement of the day. Rover actually out-microing the tick here. Very rare. Usually the ticks take the cake for micro controllability here in terms of rover versus tick matchups, but there you go. Little bit of a engagement right there. Basically the smallest engagement you can ask for, but it goes to the hands of the blue players. Wonderfully done. Stupid now marching a grunt across the field here as well, looking to try and do a little bit of damage. Actually might be able to. It's only ticks out on the field so far right now for JTL. We also have, who is this? The Lavender commander, Thule, fighting alongside JTL up here on this northern side. The Grunt, missing all of his shots. You gotta hit those. Hit the aim labs here, Grunt. Oh no. Grunt didn't commit to its run by right here, but it actually might have been able to snipe a metal extractor if it had committed to the push. Now ticks are on the other side of the map, counter-attacking right here for JTL, headed directly into the base of Stupid, and maybe going to be able to find some damage here against Hotshot GG as well, the Tan Cortex commander, playing on the, basically direct middle of this map. Ticks scout the constructor over here, they scout the base over here. One of them will be deflected by the Grunts. It's quite nice for base defense. Those Grunts very easy to spam out, very easy to use for defensive fighting like that. But there are still a few more ticks in the backline here. Eventually cleaned up, but they did manage to snipe a single wind turbine. Man, the pros are at each other's throats today. Ready to rip and tear until it is done. Certainly. Shubada, the powder blue commander. Ticks already out on the field here. Grunt trying to engage with some of them here, blasting a couple of them apart right now. Losing ticks left and right, not really the end of the world, especially not for Armada commanders that are based on wind turbines. You can basically pay for ticks just using wind turbine energy conversion. That's how cheap they are. Couple of wind turbines and some E-converters allows you to spam out ticks. Essentially can pay for the tick spam singularly. We do have a metal extractor in some trouble here, actually. Constructor in trouble here, too. There is a missile truck out and available. Missile trucks have been changed recently. This is a recent update, is that they no longer fire a homing missile. They used to be extremely potent against ticks. Now they're no longer an anti-tick weapon because that homing missile, well, no longer locks on, so the ticks can just outrun it. Oh, citizen's arrest right there. Bam! Tick is arrested. 17 metal directly back towards the Lavender commander. Still has a tick in the base, though, and trying to clean all that up. Definitely very taxing on the APM here, and it's the reason why all of the units have died on the front line. Jazz Cash, happy to eat up all the metal from those tanks right here. All those Blitz tanks were gobbled up here by the yellow Armada commander. It's going to be an excellent start right now. We have, cheeky. We have a transport with a Centurion in it. We're trying to put it down somewhere inconvenient for the enemy here. Fighters, shoot the transport down, but just before the transport manages to drop the Centurion directly into the base of the green commander. Oh, this is so awkward. Shuriken in the air, thank goodness the air player is right on top of it right here. That's random variable, coming in clutch with the Shuriken right here, enabling the green commander to fight back against this otherwise oppressively dangerous Centurion here. Shuriken shot out of the sky, but the fighter sent alongside the transport. Centurion's still fighting. Trying to blast whatever it can down here. I think shutting down these constructors wouldn't be the end of the world. There's no build power on this lab either, so despite trying to go for units right here, well, as we should anyways, we won't be able to. Yeah, Centurion getting some serious value. What a cheeky little play, but I love to see it. Transport shenanigans have been the name of the game as of recently, and I'm glad to see, of course, that the pros are taking well advantage of it. With tremendous APM comes tremendous power, and seeing how that's utilized, well, is obviously just a treat. Rocketeers over here firing away at an LLT. Florio going up against Chisato. That's a match made in heaven right there. Florio may be the second on the team, but still 42 true skill and silver chevrons to boot. At this level, everybody's basically just about equally footed. We do have some aggravators on the front trying to help this commander out here. Elmer Fudd in a lot of trouble here. Very low HP, 24%, and falling. Florio in trouble too. Pushed back by the forces of Chisato right here. I love that drop because it meant that there were no more reinforcements for the longest time coming out for the green commander right here. So it does mean that, of course, Elmer Fudd's forces are depleted because there was no production in that lab. There was a Centurion in the back line of the base, tearing apart all the rest of it here. Eventually cleaned up by some grunts that were pumped out right here. But suffice it to say, that was a heavy blow to the economy right now for the green commander. We need to resurrect some of these constructors to get the build power back up and online. Yep, there we go. Elmer Fudd realizing that and starts resurrecting immediately here. Gonna patch up some of those constructors, even getting the Centurion back online, which I don't mind. At the very least, some nice base defense here. Screwish doing an excellent job of holding on to the middle of the map here, trying to put down LLTs all over the place, damaging up Shibata, the, or Skibida. Is it Skibida? Oh, it might be Skibida. The powder blue commander right here, who is pushing forward with the light laser hand cannon, trying to claim as much space as possible. Jazz Cash pushing forward, doing an excellent job of kiting back and forth against these Janices. Very tricky to do. Janices only need a couple good connections to really rock the foundation of your army, popping all of the Rocketeers, dismantling whole fields of thugs or maces or even grunts and pawns. Gove going for the good old tried and true. It's Resbots and it's thugs. Very, very difficult to beat. If you don't have a composition like, well, basically Rocketeers. Rocketeers are the answer to everything. If you don't have rockets to shut this down, essentially what you end up doing is taking one sort of okay fight, and then a bad fight, and then a worse fight, and then eventually it snowballs out of control, and you have no way of getting back into the game here. Snowballing similarly to the way that the Navy does. Once it spirals out of control and you no longer have control over the high seas, that's exactly what we're seeing right here. If Gove continues the aggression, we're eventually going to cut off the forces here from yellow, and then we're going to eventually, hold on, let me draw that a little better. We're going to cut off the forces of yellow, and we're going to cut off the forces of orange, meaning the Jazz Cash's commander is in a whole lot of trouble. Only takes a couple connections from those Janus to free up that commander, and then eventually free up. By free up, I mean plant in the ground. And then you're in a great spot right here. You have all this metal extractor area to claim right here, both of these middle metal extractors, which Jazz Cash has done a phenomenal job of keeping a hold of for the time being. Yeah, how on earth are we going to shut this down? The key to this composition is the Resbots, so if you can snipe those, you can definitely make this a lot less effective. But still, this is so much metal on the field already right here. Just in thugs right now for the powder blue, or pardon me, the Seafoam green commander Gove, we already have 2,500 metal. Now reuniting with the blue force here, we have Rocketeers and thugs moving together right now, firing away at whatever they can. Constructor goes down right here. Beautifully, beautifully done. Northern side looking very shaky for the red team right now. Meanwhile, on the southern side, the exact opposite story is being told. Resbots eating up the juicy reclaim from the enemy engagements right here. We have tons of rocket bots up and available for Chisato, going up against, well, a hefty enough army composition right here from Florio. Well, composition. It's all aggravators, but it's good enough for T1 era. Elmer Fudd trying to make up the difference here for all that production being offline for so long by moving the lab forward here. I actually don't mind that one bit. Once we got the constructors up and running in the backline, there's not really a tremendous reason why we need to keep production back there. If you move it forward, it means your units can get to the front, and sometimes that can split the difference or tilt the difference in your favor. If, for instance, you end up falling behind and you just feel yourself losing to the encroaching push right there, you can use essentially leveraging a defender's advantage to the front lines to try and make up the difference. Obviously risky, you lose this lab and you have no more production available, but if you can manage to pull it off, you can definitely do great things. Power Outlet and Chisato looking strong though. We're hitting those numbers of aggravators though, where we're stumbling into that issue of having a hard time microing all of it. Medium tank's going on a little bit of a tear over here. Definitely inconvenient. Trying to worry about those at the same time you're microing these units on the front lines can be tricky. Both teams firing away with as many of these rockets as they can right here. Pop-up turret comes up here, Dragon's Maw, trying to fire away whatever it can. It'll do some good damage on the front line here, and as long as we, yeah, there we go, we put some walls down in front of it as well, just to try and keep it safe from any long-range rocket harassment. Elmer Fudd marching forward confidently with the commander, fires the D-gun and gets rid of that very dangerous flame spitter turret. Very nicely done. Elmer Fudd brought back from the brink of death here. Once again, sent back though. We have a T2 transition underway right here for Chisato. We've got T2 economy coming up right here. The metal extractors coming up and online right now. That's why production has been halted. We've eaten up the lab and just gone full-blown into these T2 metal extractors. I think it's a fabulous idea. Once the T2 mexes come up, you can always just produce 4 times as much T1 units, or of course go into some of those juicy T2s. No such transition right here for the green or green commander on the southern side. The green boys playing together on the southern side here. No such transition exists for them. Frontline is slowly turning to their favor though. Flamethrower turret's so efficient at blasting down these units, but it doesn't really matter as long as the wreckages remain and as long as the resbots are there and as long as production continues pumping out units. Effectively, the red team is giving up the positional advantage here to go for attack advantage, and it will pay off eventually, but we need these mexes up and running stat, and there's just, well, yeah, we have enough build power, but just barely enough build power right here for the pink commander power outlet. Northern side has sort of stalled at this point. We do have walls coming up right here. That's quite nice. We have quite enough units here to push back some of the forces right now, but I think it's an excellent opportunity to go for T2. And indeed, the blue commander here, JTL, going to go for some of those T2 metal extractors, and we should eventually see the the lavender commander. Getting my colors mixed up today. The lavender commander eventually going into that sort of thing too. We have a big Sheldon ball building in the middle of the map for Goaf, trying to contest whatever's going on in the middle here. It's loads of grunts. That is a tremendous investment in grunts right here from Hotshot GG. Not necessarily the wrong investment. If you send these in the right place and at the right time, you can certainly find little run-by paths and do insane amounts of damage. We've seen that over and over again, sending 2 or 3 grunts through, but they managed to kill 10 metal extractors and eventually win the game. Little plays like that amount to big victories. There we go. Resbots now reclaiming from whatever they can on the front line, getting a little greedy here, stepping forward. The Rocketeer's firing, my goodness. Thwarting the push right there for power outlet. Elmer Fudd de-gunning down the LLTs. Nice usage of the commanders right there. Looks like we had a commander trade right here on the front lines for the red and green commander, the Florio and Chisato, hugging it out to the death, and it will mean that there's no longer either commander for either of those players here to shut any of this down, but we do still have the Overwatch heavy laser tower firing away at anything in this area to try and make sure that we comfortably hold on to that zone while we get those T2 mexes up and running, which we're pretty much done with. Yeah, we're just starting up the mexes all over the place. You can see we've plopped them down with some construction towers here. Very high APM thing to do, right? Micromanaging all of that at the same time. Wondered if we might go for an armed metal extractor here, the Exploiter. Not going to be the case right now. Constructor, oh wow, all right. Feels a little greedy to go for that metal extractor, but I guess with the Overwatch keeping everything safe, not going to be the end of the world here. We do have a T2 production center very far forward on the front lines here planned as well, but I don't mind it as long as we've got the E scaling for it and we've got already over 1,000 energy per second. I think Chisato's going to be in a wonderful spot right here as soon as that T2 lab comes up and online, starting to pump out those T2 units way ahead of the green commander Florio right now as far as the economic game goes. Still a big bowl of grunts, and I'm wondering what we're going to do with it. Waiting to see where the value is going to be at. Right now, the map is in the blue team's favor. That'll flip over immediately as soon as all of these T2 units start to come up and online. There we go. We have a Scorpion turret up and online, firing away at whatever we can. Always love the frontline Scorpion turret. One Scorpion turret on the front can really help solidify against a T1 push, especially when your opponent is going to have to eat up their T1 if they want to make a really rapid T2 transition. It just denies them any opportunity to efficiently push into your lines, giving them no opportunity to break through without sacrificing a tremendous amount of their resource. T2 is flying all around the map right here. We have a Persecutor coming up right now for Stupid. That's a wonderful play. Setting up the Persecutor on this little high ground keeps it nice and protected, but also you can see the area of attack, this orange and red circle right here. Massive field of fire that it can encompass. Firing away at 2 different armies simultaneously, as well as all of this very expensive pork that has been set up here by JTL as well as Thule. Lovely positioning right there on that heavy plasma pop-up artillery. Medium tanks and rockets, rocket trucks firing away now. Whistler spam, definitely viable to a degree. It used to be really viable, and then it was no longer viable, and now it's sort of back in a different kind of way. Definitely still a siege option, but not necessarily the same anti-spam option that it once was. The Sheldon ball right here. Starting to get up to numbers right now. We're up to 8 Sheldon. Not the end of the world, not the worst number, but definitely more is going to be necessary if we want to get up to that ridiculous amount where it really doesn't matter what we fight and where we fight it. And the other big problem, of course, is that fiends are going to hit the battlefield eventually as well. And if you don't have some sort of counter, aka sumos or mammoths, in front of your Sheldon ball, you just end up getting pushed, and it can be a really devastating moment here. Mass grunt spam. Thinking about moving forward. I think they probably can. Yeah, they want that commander. They want Elmer Fudd. Not going to happen. There's still enough T1 hanging out around over here. The sumo waddling forward, though, are going to be really difficult to break. There they are. Known for their tanky outer shell, they're extremely potent. Very, very good at waddling forward in the face of all devastation. Beautifully done. A nicely broken front line, opening up the opportunity for more run-bys over here. It looks like the Sheldon ball survived, but a lot of the frontline units died. If we don't reclaim all of this, and the red player manages to, it's definitely going to be a wonderful position. Wouldn't even mind seeing maybe a transport just drop a construction turret around here somewhere. Feels like a hilariously effective move. Not to mention, of course, forward construction turrets can repair up those sumos and other high health units right here. Oh, Elmer Fudd looking for a D-gun right here. Trying to sneak a cheeky D-gun in, trying to blast away some of those very expensive sumos. They are 500. That's actually not as expensive as I thought they were. 560 is not terrible. Oh, sussy worm working their way up this mountainside. Ooh, not sure how much I like that. Yeah, 7%, 2%, and boom goes the commander up on the high ground right there. Did we get enough value out of that commander? It really doesn't feel like it. That's going to be 1,250 metal going back to the Lavender Commander Thule. Certainly a room right there for that commander to go comfortably into T2 with that. Sheldon ball up to a big enough number now that we're really starting to work on the frontline units here. Spybot looking for a juicy connection wherever it can. There it goes. Paralyzing a whole bunch of that front line. Honestly, not a fan of that, actually. I think keeping the Spybot around just as vision might not have been the worst idea. We do have a jammer here right now. If we switch to Chisato's views, you can see exactly where that jammer field is. As soon as those units step outside of it, no longer visible. That's another thing players ask me to, people in the comment section have asked me about is, oh, hold on, I'm trying to remember the hotkey for it. Oh, I think I've disabled it. Is flipping the camera around to see the other player's views. I don't think, maybe that's not what they're talking about though, because I don't think the camera flips around. I think maybe we're just talking about this sort of view, player view. Always happy to take a look at this though. Kind of reveals what each player is going up against. And spectator sight is very potent, very easy to make these decisions when you can see exactly what's going on here. Oh, I see the play for JTL. Setting up radar jammer field so we can move the commander forward right here. If we actually switch to the view right now of the orange team, you can see they don't detect a thing. No radar jammer dot, nothing here to indicate that there's a commander moving forward. Because of that sneaky Pete, and it means the commander can waddle its way forward and try and go for a D-gun here. Can we reach? Probably just barely. We fire the if we fire the D-gun right here, I think we probably could do it. There we go. Nicely done. Take out the T2 metal extractor, take out the persecutor, and make our way back to our fortified zone. Very nicely done. What a cheeky little play right there from JTL. That's the kind of stuff that I expect out of the pros, though. Getting creative with their units and with their control. Very nicely done. T2 Lab has been dismantled now on the front lines as Chisato has decided to go into some eco here. Frontline eco as well. We've got the fusions, we've got the E-converters, we've got everything and some more. Wind turbines coming up all over the place. We've got E-converters all over the place as well. Everything is being set up all over the map here. Very, very distributed system we've got from Chisato right now. Just using all the metal and reinvesting all the metal into various different projects all over the place. But I'm surprised to see how comfortable we are putting all this on the front line here, especially those E-converters. They're so squishy. What are we dismantling here? I think we're going to dismantle the Persecutor. I think that's a great idea. When the enemy knows that you have a Persecutor and they know to stay out of its field of fire, effectively it's not getting value right now, and that is 2,500 metal that you can put into other projects. Easy to forget that that metal exists, but using it on a fusion reactor, for instance, or more E-converters, or all that good stuff, very, very valuable. Showcasing that the fusion scaling is certainly viable. Spybot now providing vision to allow for the enemy Persecutor here, the green Persecutor, to fire away. Spybot, let's see exactly what it reveals. One thing, of course, is these T1 labs here, but it also sees the E-converters, ironically. If it takes another step forward, I think it'll discover that there's actually way more eco over here than it bargained for. Chisato should be able to sniff out here that there's a spy bot paying attention to the lab right now because the jammer field is up, but there's still something firing away, and the only way that's possible is if you have line of sight. That or if you are dumb firing a unit, for instance. T1 labs will be reclaimed right here, though. Yeah, and these forward E-converters have me so concerned. There we go. T3 lab is up and running here. Rapid T3 transition from the red commander, Chisato. Big bombing run up on the front line. Ooh, I think we were going after the commander right there, but we didn't quite manage to hit it. We did get the flak turret, though, so at the very least, managing to shut that down is quite nice. Fighter Swarm trying to keep these bombers in the game right here. It's whirlwinds, but they're still T1 bombers. They're going to take quite a few passes before they do any damage. For instance, to this fusion reactor over here, trying to shut down the build power. Probably a much better plan here. There we go. Build power does fall eventually. Nicely done. Denying the orange commander any more eco in the backline. I would say probably a fairly successful push. Mauser pushing forward the front line right here for the blue commander. JTL trying to whittle away at this rattlesnake that's been, frankly, dismantling this front line here. Yeah, build turrets to keep it repaired are doing a fabulous job of keeping all this looking nice. There we go. Bombers carpet bombing the area over here. Transport sent along with the bombers here. I think there's probably just a misrally. Shiva going to start waddling forward here as well. Planes making their way down to the southern side to try and shoot these bombers down, but they're a little bit slow on the draw. Bombers stripping the land of its wind turbines here. The natural wind turbine fields bombed out of existence. Tons of build power going down right there as well. They also scout all these bombers that are going to start heading out here. Nice little switch up from Florio, going for a bombing run here, trying to find an opportunity to squeeze in a little bit of damage on this very greedy front line. Bombers thinking about going into the back line, instead going to go ahead and just double down and go back towards the fusion reactors over here. Scouting at the very least that there's some sort of strange T3 transition on the front lines right now. Elmer Fudd, ooh, trying to dance, but that Shiva AoE is impactful, and just like that, Shiva have destroyed that commander in dark green. Persecutor blasted to smithereens. Everything around it, likewise to follow suit. It's now or never for the blue team. We need some sort of massive counteroffensive right now. We have it. Grunts and Sumos waddling through the one weak point that they can find here. Hotshot GG's forces were distracted or not produced or somewhere else on the map. Looks like there was a nice big battle, some static defense, all that sort of stuff. But either way, there's nothing to hold back this attack. Shuriken here, pumped out by Sussy Worm to try and shut down as much of this as possible. But suffice it to say, this is a lot of damage coming through right now. Opening up the opportunity for Sheldon and whatnot to peek through as well. We do have Shiva coming out of the T3 lab here for Gof, trying to push hard and push fast as much as they can. LLT trying to hold the line right now as well. Shiva not having it. T1 lab coming up right here for Florio. Unfortunately, caught with his pants down. And just like that, the Shiva had made it into the backline. Wind turbines start to fall, of course. Heavy friendly fire, as was to be expected from the Shiva. T1 labs will go down as well. And it's only a matter of time before these red forces start to sweep northward. This push has to succeed, and it has to do game-winning amounts of damage here. Screw is trying to avoid a lot of the T1 spam. Jumping on top of the T3. Here we go. Killer D-guns right here. 1, 2, and 3 D-guns connect. Very nicely done there from the Maroon Commander. Buying a lot of time, buying precious seconds right there to try and keep all of this alive. Bombers coming in again to try and shut down these fusion reactors. Do we have enough? Well, we very closely do. Yeah, very nicely done. One of the fusion reactors falls. So many wind turbines and whatnot that are bombable back here, but really these fusion reactors are the crux of the energy production at this point. Each of these worth 1,000 energy a second. Definitely makes them a prime target. The anti-air goes up, and the bombers come down. Shiva now rampaging into the base of Skibida. Pop-up Scorpion turrets trying desperately to hold the line right here, but there'll be no match for that many Shiva, firing away their heavy impulse cannons and their long-range missile launchers. Their siege missile launchers. What are those actually called? Heavy rockets. They're heavy rocket launchers. And just like that, the powder blue base has fallen as well. Production grinds to a halt. And it means that we need some sort of desperate measure here to bring this back. T3 units now pulled from the front lines right now, relieving all that pressure from the Tan Commander instead to try and defend the bases in the backline here. We just don't have any units on the ground. Shuriken trying desperately to paralyze what they can, but they just aren't enough. And the Shuriken push. Pardon me, the Shiva push. Manages to win the game. Well, I'll be. Shivas have definitely been underwhelming as of late. It is refreshing to see them stomp through a T1 army with ruthless ease. Defensive Shiva now come out. We do have a T3 gantry on the way right here for the blue commander. It's an Armada T3 gantry too, so we could have some quality units coming out any minute. We need them yesterday though. Scorpion turrets trying to be built up here as well. They do decent damage against the Shiva, but there just really is only so much that 1 or 2 pop-up turrets can do against this many of these heavy T3 bots. Demon trying to clean up a lot of this. That's probably the right answer for the Shiva here. Shiva pack a wall up, and demons don't particularly have that much HP, but they do quite a lot of damage. And I think that's probably exactly what you need in order to stop the Shiva in their tracks from burning down any more of this base over here. At what point do you dismantle this T3 lab? Go into some more eco. Apparently, the answer is yes. Keep the T3 lab up and running while also going into an advanced fusion reactor here in the backline, at least for Chisato. Ooh, nuclear bomb sent across the map right here, directly into the face of Chisato. And man, does that hurt. Just like that, the Red Commander lost everything they knew and loved. All the production, all these juicy Shivas that were sent across the map, no longer going to be produced out here. We have no build power to clean all this up either. Somebody is going to have to do something about this. Right now, all hands on deck are on to try and build a anti-nuke first and foremost, but also to try and get the economy back up out of the shambles. About 4,000 energy right here from the wind turbines, which is phenomenal, but still losing another 3,000 energy per second in fusion reactors definitely hurts. Gonna go for some more build power here on the front lines, trying to rebuild as the Red Commander Chisato, but definitely forced to retreat a little bit from that front line. This is where the difference is made though. Resbots reclaiming the scraps of the bases that were killed over here, eating up a lot of these Shiva corpses, managing to funnel a lot of that metal back into the economy right here for the Red Commander. As long as most of this metal goes back towards the red economy, it's not altogether that much of a loss. And these Resbots were allowed to live. We have grunts streaming in this direction, but we just don't have enough to divert in this direction, apparently. A couple of purple grunts moving in this direction to try and clean up some of these Resbots would be phenomenal. Now is the only opportunity, pardon me, let me clear the map really quickly. Now is the only opportunity that I think that the blue team has to go for some sort of massive counteroffensive. See, the anti-nuke radius is here. There's a new format for these that shows you where they're overlapped and where they aren't. Shows you open areas. Anything outside the white line is nukeable. It's actually quite a nice interface. It just doesn't look so good here. It looks better back here. You can see where this sector over here is nukeable, and then everything outside of here is nukeable. It's a good format, but it does look a little strange when there's just one nuke up and running. A little bit different anyways. Razorback's up and running from the blue commander now, pumping out those T3 units as fast as possible. The economy is nothing to die for. We have a couple of fusions in the backline. You know what? We have 3 fusion economy. It's not terrible. Not the end of the world. Certainly on the back of plenty of wind turbines as well can be more than sufficient. But suffice it to say, this battle was already looking rough with the Shiva on Shiva. 1 or 2 Razorback isn't really going to make a difference. Maybe a Vanguard or 2 to shell away over here wouldn't be the worst idea. Build power back up and running right now, by the way, for the Red Commander, so finally this lab is producing again. Enemy Shiva getting dangerously close to the lab that's producing everything, though. That build power goes down again, and all of this is for naught. At what point do you, as the Red Commander, cut your losses, eat up that T3 lab, and move everything back a notch? Tricky to say. T2 Air Lab. T2 Armada Air Lab is the decision that we're going to go for right here. You know what? The Defender's advantage is heavy. Loads of the green Shivas going down right now. Resbots to reclaim all this, try and rebuild those, try and reclaim that metal and put it into more T3 units is exactly what we need to see. Demon sweeping through though. Yep, Demon jumps on top of the lab right there, and instead of going for the build power or anything, just going to commit to killing the lab itself. Beautifully done right there. Oh, 1%, and down goes the Demon, but it takes down the lab right there as well. Beautifully, beautifully done. With no reinforcements coming out of that lab anymore, this is suddenly a very winnable position right here. We need to keep the Resbots alive, so of course we can continue the push right here. Razorback melting down some of the Shiva over here as well, one by one, picking them apart. Very nicely done. And there we go. Resbots, most of them evaporated, but still tons of them remain. Well, a duo of them remain. Eating up about 100 metal a second right here. Certainly going to be nice for the blue economy. What a turnaround on this southern side. All hands on deck to push back the red commander right here. Worst player confirmed, cries out Sussy Worm against the red team leader. Now grunts are streaming forward. We have abductors have been built here. Okay. Not bad. Abductors, of course, have their EMP beam. Perfect for paralyzing heavy T3 units. Definitely the idea here, but we do need some boots on the field. Razorbacks continuing to march forward, trying to find some value here. And you don't really want to fight Mammoths with Razorbacks. Mammoths effectively meant to counter Razorbacks. Ultra high HP versus ultra high DPS means you spend way too much time fighting something. Antinuke dead here, cries out the powder blue commander as well, highlighting that that southern side might be quite nukeable. And indeed it is. There's this little forward base over here as well that's quite nukeable. And then of course some of this frontline stuff. This is lovely though. Yeah, the Resbots eating all this up. You can see when the reclaim is high, this is upwards of several hundred metal per second being reclaimed. Obviously that doesn't last for very many seconds, but it does mean that there's tons and tons of resources available. Abductors in the air. Like they just don't care. It's time for them to show themselves. Their paralytic beam is extremely potent. You can see it paralyzes even T3 units in just a single blast, but it has quite a long cooldown, so you do have to use it carefully. Sparingly. Similar to the sustained beam of something like a Starlight or a Pulsar, something like that. That's sort of similar to how the Abductor works. Fires a sustained EMP beam. It's not sustained long, but it is sustained nonetheless. Resbots making the difference. Res OP cries out, fires the storm from the spectator chat, and I couldn't agree more. Resbots waddling forward. They've paid for themselves and some more, though, in their reclamation. Easily. Nuke shot out of the sky here. Razorbacks en masse trying to break lines now. T1 defense is not going to hold long against the Razorback, and even T2 defense is not going to hold long either. Scorpion turrets, quite good, not good enough. Razorbacks blasting all of it apart. Wow, with some phenomenal reclamation in all the right pressure in all the right places. The blue team has actually managed to claw themselves back into this. Now this is dangerous. This is extremely dangerous. We do have a massive wall of sharpshooters here. Oh, purple grunts though, getting the swarm on. At the very least, those those Scorpion pop-up turrets are doing a fabulous job of keeping them safe. If you lose those sharpshooters here, the snowball dies immediately. That's why these welders are so important. One of my favorite compositions, and I've obviously made that very vocal, is Welder Sharpshooter. Pulsar comes up just in time to miss its shot here on the demon that's burning apart the eco of the backline. Oh no. All of the E-converters pop. And that means the red commander is now left without any build power in the back here. Tons of static defense though, so it's going to be difficult to break through that pork, but suffice it to say, left on death's door. Welders marching forward, providing the vision that the sharpshooters need alongside those ticks, of course. Making it very comfortable for the sharpshooters to just continue firing away. As soon as the sharpshooters start to, oh well, Juno's come down to block the ticks. As soon as the sharpshooters start to connect with some of those juicier targets though, this definitely starts to turn itself around, but we need to start pushing here. Jazzcash waiting for this next Aphis to finish up here, I think. Trying to find the right opportunity to continue the push, and I think the timing is now. Yeah, sending out Mass Juno to try and make sure that there's always enough going on. Do we have the, oh gosh, what are they called? Pinpointers. We do not. I don't see any pinpointers right here. In fact, I don't see any for the red team in general. I wish there was somewhere in the overlay it would show which team has pinpointers or something, maybe right here on this, to the left of the color palette up here on the top right-hand corner. Feels like necessary information as one of the few upgrades, quote unquote, that you have available in this game. I feel like that's well worth investing in. A little bit of a UI change. Somebody can probably hack that together. We've got some talented modders in the community. Anywho, These sharpshooters are the only chance that the red team has at this point. Well, you know what? I say that. We've got the Krog Stomper moving its way forward right here, accompanied by some Mammoths, which is always great. That's great anti-spam control, but also the Shiva in the back line, of course, for some serious firepower. This is looking dangerous. We have the Razorbacks to deal with the Shuriken here. Razorbacks doing it all. Shooting down Shuriken, shooting down Spam, shooting down T3. They're pretty good. Pretty efficient, I would say, as far as what your metal can buy with them. Efficiency only goes so far, though. The Mammoths are, like I said, perfectly meant to counter them. Commander goes down right here, trying to degun as much of those T3 as possible. Didn't really manage to get too many connections, though. The Abductors paralyzing whatever they can over here. You actually benefit you benefit from using Abductors essentially as a strafing run. The way you do that, I'll explain it here very quickly, is you hit Alt and Y, or pardon me, it would be Alt and T if you're using default controls, and then you right-click and drag on the field, and then you move them over that right-click and drag. But how about that? The entire base right here for the Maroon Commander just went up in a beautiful explosion of thermonuclear scale. Aphis pops, Demons, Razorbacks, Shivas, and some more. Pushing into the bases right here for the red team. This is the opportunity the blue team is waiting for. This is the kill shot that they've needed. Juggernaut marching its way down south, but it's so slow. By the time it's going to get to anything valuable in the blue team, it will already have been after the blue team pushes forward into all these juicy economic structures economy over here. Scorpion turret comes up and starts firing away. It gets 2 shots off before it's obliterated. And just like that, Shivar now in the backline of the Orange Commander stupid as well. New connects right there in the middle of the map. Don't know if it found too many targets, but indeed, with multiple bases falling right here to the T3 punch right through the middle of the map, it is the blue team who claims victory in this very back and forth match beyond all reason. What an excellent, excellent game, and one of the reasons I love watching the pros play is for games like this. Let me know what you thought about it down below in the comment section if there's something that I missed, because I'm sure that there was. It's always action-packed watching these guys play, and I will see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.